And so, sorry, Kathy, if any of the information that I have about the teachers is not correct, I guess you could correct that or correct me afterwards. I just put down a couple professors we have. So.
All right, we're gonna share the screen here. And should be good.
Okay. Yeah, great. All right. So, hi guys. My name is Lucero Bonilla. And I graduated from COS in 2023. Since then, I have been attending Cal State Fullerton in Orange County, on the other side of LA. So right now, I am an EA major, which is Entertainment Arts and Animation. And I am a senior, but I still have one more year until I'm done with my classes. And so this is the front of the campus picture. Let's start out. So 2021, I graduated from Golden West High School. 22, I applied after, and right away I started at COS, 2021. 22, I applied to CSU Northridge, CSU Long Beach, CSU San Jose, and Fullerton to try to get into the animation programs that they had because those were affordable schools that had animation programs that I looked into. Northridge, when I looked into it, doesn't really have a BFA, so keep that in mind, it's just a BA. But anyway, I made a decision to go to Fullerton. It's the best program for me. So I graduated COS in 2023 with my associates in art, and me and my sister moved to Fullerton to study on campus. So spring 2024, I applied to the BFA program, and I was accepted into illustration and animation concentrations. And so since then, I've been in the program. So where are we at? So it's about a 4.5-hour drive on a good day to get to Fullerton campus. It's on the other side of LA. So keep that in mind, it's far away from home. But the nice thing is that there is a train that goes from Hanford straight to Fullerton. So.
Do you know how long that train ride is?
Carlitos, how long is the train ride?
Depends on which one you get, it can be from 4 hours to 7 hours.
All right, so him and my mom take the train more than my sister and me do. We usually drive, but yeah, there is a train, and it just depends on which one you get. We like to drive better. It's not that bad of a drive until you hit LA. And the 57, those are crazy, but it's nice. It's beautiful over there. You guys can see the front of the campus right there. And so, funny coincidence, we're Giants, Fullerton is Titans, and we have the same colors. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't realize till we got there.
Neat.
So let's see. So what was it like moving over there? It was really sad. I miss my family because we're really close. And Fullerton was annoying. I didn't like anything. Nothing was nice. And it was simply because it was an unfamiliar city. Nothing was nice at first. And the apartment was completely empty when my sister and me first moved there. But after a while, maybe give it 6 months, I started loving the city. It was super calming and slow, a lot of beautiful places to hang out. It's a school kind of city. There's a community college, a high school, and a university all within a really small distance. And so there's a lot of hangout spots, cafes, and stuff like that. That's really different from kind of here. A lot of greenery, super different from LA. So a lot slower life. So I really like it over there. It's beautiful. But even if you guys were to move over to Fullerton or wherever it is you're going to go, it's not going to be the same as my experience. You guys might hate it, whereas I loved it. So you guys keep thinking about that. Everything's going to be different for you guys as it was for me. But yeah, so Caitlin did ask me to show some pictures of Fullerton. So I don't really think I have. Oh, I do have a point. Can we see that? Yeah. So this is the gym. There's a rock wall and a pool there on campus. This is an overview of most of the buildings. The Titan Student Union, cafeteria, some hangout spots. There is an arboretum there.
Oh, nice.
It's beautiful, and people go to draw or study or practice painting plein air. I think that's the way you say it. So a lot of people do that, but it's beautiful. There's a little bamboo forest there. We barely got a new art facility there, animation, game art, illustration. And so this is the motion capture room that's there. Caroline Ashley did push for that. So they have a couple suits. There's more campus. The library is over here. It does rain a lot more over there than it does here. Keep that in mind. You guys are gonna have to think about the weather of the school that you'll be going to, because that does make a big difference on whether you're gonna enjoy it over there or not. There's the stadium. Here's the inside of the TSU. It's 3 floors, basement, first floor, and a study spot up top. Some more pictures of the campus, more rain.
Rain.
But I enjoy the rain, it's beautiful, but you guys definitely will need an umbrella. And yeah, it's sunny, it's beautiful. My sister and my brother hanging out on their skateboards. And so we'll talk about the CSU animation department specifically. So these are a couple of foundational animations that we did in like the intro classes, things that you have to learn, motion and stuff like that. So the animation department, there's a real big emphasis on individual's voice and creativity. So the first years you learn the foundations, intro to animation and all like the fundamentals. Once you get to the production and the, what's it called? And the pre-production and production class, you guys are gonna be working on a thesis film. I think that's our biggest thing right now that Kathy's really pushing for, is to have students complete films. That is your biggest portfolio piece when you graduate that companies are gonna be looking for in the animation industry. So right now, a really good reference to look at if you're industry ready is Gobelin in Paris, really big animation school, and CalArts. They do the biggest and usually the highest standard thesis films that students do. So you guys like can reference those. I put videos in here. This PowerPoint will be, there's a QR for it at the end. So if you guys can't write anything down, it's going to be there for you guys. So these are some really great videos that I thought would be good to put.
No, they're good tonight.
We'll skip that. We don't have time for that. So CSU animation department, things to keep in mind. There's a lot of changes, and for me personally, my experience, when I first got there, it was really hard to get into classes. Counseling appointments would fill up really quickly. Thankfully, I did get meetings with Kathy Baur, and so she helped me out a ton with getting my portfolio together on time. She helped a lot with that. So classes are impacted. They fill up really quickly. Hopefully that will change. I know that they're hiring a lot of professors right now. But remember that every program has its downsides. Not everything's going to be hunky-dory. You guys have to think about that. Just because it's animation doesn't mean that there's not downsides. You guys are going to be frustrated with the program, the school in some way, shape, or form, wherever it is that you go. But for Fullerton, the good news is that the program is changing very quickly. We have really amazing teachers that are helping us out a ton, and they're always willing to talk. And you really do learn how to be proactive there because you're not spoon-fed all of your resources. You have to go out and you have to work with people and you have to talk to teachers and counselors. One of the upsides of Cal State Fullerton are the clubs and the staff. So I know the Pencil Mileage Club and the Women in Animation are great resources. They host workshops and events. They do trips. And one of the biggest things are the guest speakers that they bring on. So just in this last semester, they hosted Dana Terrace, creator of Owl House, Joseph Feinsilver, art director of Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, visual development artist of The Wild Robot and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as well as Jorge Gutierrez, who directed The Book of Life. So those are some speakers that came over the last semester. And some amazing staff that's there. Caroline Hugh, who was teaching my class this semester for 2D character animation. She worked on Osmosis Jones, The Lion King, Mulan, The Iron Giant, Return to Neverland. Kathy Baur, who is with us today, worked on The Iron Giant. I'm pretty sure that these are supposed to be correct, but please correct me if I'm wrong. The Iron Giant, Middle School Worst Years of My Life, Prince of Egypt, Osmosis Jones, The Road to El Dorado, Spirit, Stallion of the Cameron. So those are some.
Yeah,
Those all correct?
also Green Eggs and Ham too. That was one, and Space Jam. So yeah, there's all my credits aren't listed online at the moment. I have to update it, but yeah, I also worked on the Green Eggs and Ham, Space Jam 1 and Space Jam 2. So
Wow. So yeah, you guys have a lot of experience, a lot of work.
yeah.
And so then Douglas McCarthy, who was my pre-production professor, directed an extremely goofy movie, worked on Shrek 2 and as well The Road to El Dorado. And Van Partible, who I have not had as a teacher, but everyone talks amazing about his class. He was writer and director of Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, he actually created Johnny Bravo.
Yes.
It started as a student film and became a big popular show.
Yeah, so there's amazing teachers, and that's not even the end of the list that are there, which I didn't know about when I went to Fullerton. But they have a lot of experience and they're really willing to help. I really love my teachers. But something to think about when you're thinking about animation, Van Partible is a really good example. Animation is not a secure job or industry. I think he was talking to his students one time that even though he created Johnny Bravo, he was let go from the project. He was fired as director. And so it doesn't matter what position you have in animation, if the studio deems it, you're out of a job whenever they want. So it is not a secure industry, but there is a lot of work. Freelance, indie studios. So yeah, something to keep in mind. It's not very stable, but if you love it, it's going to be worth it. All right, so applying to the BFA program, everyone starts out in studio arts. Nobody is automatically accepted into any BFA program except for studio arts. You wait a semester attending general classes, and then you apply to EAA, which is Entertainment Art Animation, Illustration, or Game Art. And I'm not sure if we have any other ones, but those are the ones that I'm aware of and most familiar with. So you go through a portfolio process, you create your portfolio. For me, there was a test for illustration. We had to go and sit down and draw from memory, and it took about an hour. So that was nerve-wracking, but it was very doable. That changes depending on the semester and how many people go in. So whether you get in or not depends on how many people are applying to the program, how many people are graduating, and how good your portfolio is. You can do a double concentration. I applied to both and was accepted to both, but it's going to take you longer, and most classes already overlap. So just majoring in one would help out. I think animation is the strongest, because even if you're interested, like you were saying, visual development, animation covers that. Illustration is more book design from what I've seen. So I think animation is the strongest industry to go into. It's a very transferable major. Okay, so the portfolio specifically, two things that they're looking for is an understanding of the fundamentals and a creative voice or style. And so the fundamentals as they pertain to animation are very specific: human anatomy, composition, value, gesture, color, perspective. This section of the portfolio, kind of for illustration and animation, is more realism based. They want to see that you have, or you know what? Kathy Baur, can you speak about that?
Sure. I'm going to give you guys right off the bat a couple of names. One is Glenn Vilpu and Carl Ganas, because we do figure drawing. Yeah, great. You already have them listed there. So for animation, drawing for animation is very specific. You need to understand structure, gesture and structure, and you need to be able to draw turnarounds. Like a character, if you've designed a character, or if you're working with a character, like let's say Homer Simpson or Bugs Bunny, if you have that character just standing in a front view, you have to be able to do that character, draw it from every different angle. And the way we do this is we look at the underlying structure. Like Homer Simpson's body is kind of like a pear shape. And when you draw it from the different angles, the body itself kind of looks almost the same from all angles, but his head has a little bit of a curve. It's like a cylinder, but it curves back a little bit. Or Marge Simpson's hair, it curves back. You have to be able to draw those dimensional forms from every view. So we're not just drawing the edges or looking at pretty line drawings, we do structure. So that's one of the things we look for very heavily in the portfolios for the animation, entertainment art animation concentration.
So there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Strong fundamentals with structure and then anatomy, gesture. But first and foremost, getting that structure and being able to turn a character around, like a lot of this, like perspective, that involves perspective. It involves just understanding of human anatomy to a certain degree. What we don't look for, I'll tell you what we don't want, because I think this is one way to really explain it, is not beautiful, pretty lines drawn on something where the structure is not accurate. So if something it just doesn't look right, or stylized is fine. You can distort proportions. I think about the character Tarzan, the Disney Tarzan movie. That's a lot of anatomy right there, but it is distorted, like his hands are really big and things like that. But no matter what, when they draw that character from different angles, it has to be consistent. The eyes have to be in the right spot. Everything has to be in the right spot. So what we're not looking for is beautifully rendered work as much as accuracy. I hope that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, and so here at COS, I think you guys are us here at COS. There's a really strong emphasis on the fundamentals, but you guys have to realize how important it is when it's figure drawing or learning value, color. You guys have to put in a lot of effort and time. I know the studio classes, Mr. Rangel's painting classes, Mrs. Rangel's figure drawing classes, those are really important. You're going to learn the fundamentals that you're going to need for the portfolio. And a lot of the work that you do here at COS, you can use in your portfolio, mostly for the fundamentals portion, not so much for the stylized portion. I will show some examples of my portfolio in a little bit. But anyway, for the stylized portion of the portfolio, they do want to see stylization, your guys' own creative voice, your storytelling. Like Kathy Baur was saying, the underlying shapes and gestures and dynamics, because you guys will be drawing characters, whatever you're studying in animation. Environments should be simplified and stylized as well. They want to see that you guys have an understanding of perspective, yes, but a perfectly rendered room that looks exactly like from life is not going to be as valuable as them seeing that you understand how to simplify, how to make a background for animation, because you're not going to be seeing realistic backgrounds. You're going to be seeing stylized backgrounds. So that's what they're looking for in the portfolio. You can include turnarounds, concept art, character sheets. That talks a lot about your personal art and your voice. I heard that it's a good idea to have a good variety of digital and traditional, if possible. Some great resources like Kathy Baur was talking about, Glenn Villepeu, Carl Nass are great artists to reference for figure drawing for animation. Books, Villepeu drawing manual are really good, frame perspective. The Animator Survival Kit is what we at Fullerton use, and probably every other school. That's what you're going to reference for the basics of animation. Everybody starts out with that, and it's a great book that you should probably have and practice on your own. I know I really need to get it. YouTube is a great resource. You guys just have to know kind of where to look, because there's a lot of people on YouTube that say different things. Reference this, don't reference that. New Masters Academy is great for learning the fundamentals. Proco, Tonica Pontoja, I don't know how to say that. He's great for talking about the animation industry. If you guys have questions about that or making a thesis film, it's really great. Alan Becker Tutorials talks about all the fundamentals of animation. He's great. What you guys should be doing, as well as talking to your teachers. Any recommendations here at COS? I know you guys are really great talking to your students, but you guys should be asking questions. If you're curious about something, go and ask. Make sure you're documenting your work well here at COS, and you're trying to do a good job on them. Whether it's a still life or a portrait, a self-portrait, or a long post for figure drawing, I did use those in my portfolio application. You guys should be really trying to do a good job on those and taking good photographs of that so that you can use that for any of your portfolio applications. Practice sketching from life and cafe sketching. You guys really have to study life in order to go into animation. But definitely don't rush and don't be stressed. You guys should be enjoying what you're doing if you're going into it for a passion, because I know not a lot of people go into animation because it's the money. They're not going to make a lot. So I linked these in here. They're great resources. There is a QR code at the end so that you guys can look these up. Hopefully they help. So what to think about when you're going into animation. Animation as a major is not all fun and games, and it's not what you see in Ghibli. There is so much work that goes into that. So it's definitely not just this. It's a lot of things that are very tedious and very annoying. And last week, me and most of my classmates did not sleep very much because we were getting ready for break. And work really piles on. There is a ton of work that you have to put in. Most of my friends are working on their thesis films, and they're at the campus till midnight, 2 in the morning, or on the weekends. So there's a lot of work, and it's really frustrating, especially when you can't get it right. So timing, perspective, storyboarding, concept art, refining, pre-production, all of that. Really stressful. But if you like it, it's going to be worth it. So this is a monster of a degree. My sister's doing mechanical engineering, and I think we have the same workload. me in animation, her being in a mechanical engineering field. So yeah, this is huge. You guys learn cinematography, dynamics, physics, composition, psychology, a lot of things that are going to go into that. So it's overwhelming. Don't think that's going to be easy. What you get out of it is what you put into it. You really have to put in the work. If you're just writing easy, you're just turning it in for a grade, it's not going to help you get better, and you're really not going to make it in any kind of school or job. It's frustrating, but the things that you don't like doing are honestly what help you grow most as an artist. I've really learned that studying animation. Animation as an industry right now is at a low. I know a lot of people are getting laid off in the industry. It's not reliable. But the good thing is that indie films are having a huge boom right now. People that are working on their own independent projects. Other countries are starting to take up a big interest in 2D animation. So a lot of people are moving abroad, or they're looking for programs abroad as well. So think about that. Even though there's some lows, there's some positives to that. So you guys just have to do your research. If you love it, it'll be worth it. And then this is a great quote that I heard when I was at COS that I feel like everyone in Fullerton has been repeating. You need to get a life, Mr. Rangel. So I went to Mr. Rangel and I was talking to him and I asked him, hey, what do I need to do to be getting better at my art quickly? And he said, don't be doing more art. You need to get a life outside of art. So what does that mean? So art and animation is not the study of art. More than art, it's the study of life, movement, and people. In order to improve at your art, you must first have a life outside of art. If you're just doing art about movies that you've seen or characters that you already have and you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're staying in one room, you're never going to find your art, your style. That's not to say school is a life outside of art as well. Your environment, your friends, that's going to help you out. If you want to learn how to draw or animate people, you need to go out and study people. You need to go to a cafe and watch how people move, the quirks that they have, what your friends do, how you guys interact. If you want to learn how to draw environments, go out and draw environments. You'll learn really quickly what it is that you like about it and if you don't like it. Art is unique to each individual. Who you are as a person really shows through to your art. I know Mr. Rangel did an amazing drawing that was inspired by his hiking, right? In the book. And that really shows through in your art. Your passions and your pastimes are going to show through. Your art should be genuine to you, but you first have to be a genuine person. You have to experience life. You have to go out and meet people. You don't have to be an extrovert to be an animator, but I do think that you really have to be social. Because you have to be interacting with people. Nobody completes a film on their own. You become genuine by experiencing life. This was all really great advice Mr. Rangel gave me. Not to say that you can't learn a lot from Pinterest or watching YouTube. Those are great resources, but you really do have to find your passion in life. There's a great video that kind of talks about that. It's right there. If you don't think that you're good enough, don't worry about it. You're probably going to be able to improve quicker if you're worried about not being good enough than a person who is a prodigy right now and feels comfortable where they're at. You just have to keep practicing and working at it. Explore your interests, socialize. In animation and art, you really have to prioritize your mental and physical health. I know Caroline Hugh was talking to me about that. I've been getting carpal tunnel from animating so quickly. You have to learn how to not death grip your pencil when you're drawing. And I know Mrs. Rangel did a really good job of teaching us how to sit correctly for hours on end, because you really do. So you guys have to talk to your teachers. Take care of your health. Explore your interests. And Casey Fansett, graphic design teacher in Tulare, gave us this really good advice. Art is best done on your couch with your favorite drink, with your headphones on, and a cat in your lap. So you have to enjoy yourself to be able to enjoy your art. It's really best done when you're comfortable. So if you're having art block or something, or you have a big project, you guys have to find your safe spaces to be able to do the best work that you can. If you feel like you've hit a wall with your art, you might have to take a step back from it. Not necessarily all art. Keep doing art. I know one of my friends hit a block in her 2D animation. but she started doing pottery and it really helped her out. Explore your hobbies, your interests, your passions outside of art. That's going to help a lot. And then remember, one of my teachers, I don't remember, Eric Carpenter, who is a 3D professor over there. He said that who you are as a person is going to be way more important than your portfolio. He would rather hire someone into the studio who he can get along with, who takes his advice well, than someone who has the best portfolio he's ever seen. Because you're gonna have to be working with these people, and someone who can take advice and good feedback, you'll be able to work with, as opposed to someone who is a prodigy and will not take advice. So you guys don't worry about that. So yeah, if you hit a block, Kiki's Delivery Service is an amazing movie to watch, and it is really a lot what it's like moving away far. If you hit a block, stop trying, take long walks, look at the scenery, doze off at noon, don't even think about flying or doing art, and then pretty soon you'll be flying again. So I think that's a great quote, and it really applies to art as well. So, right.
You're good on time.
Okay, cool. So just some summary. When you're looking into transferring to a different school, look at the school and the city as well. The environment that you're going to be in, the community, is going to make or break your experience there. If you hate the cold and you're moving to a state that's cold or somewhere else, you're not going to have a good time there. So yeah, look up on YouTube the city, somebody's experience there. Try to find students who talk about their experience at the campus. Look at Rate My Professor and see if all the teachers that school hires are not good. Usually that's a pretty good indicator. It doesn't mean that's always true though. I've read some reviews that are like, oh, this teacher's terrible, and I've loved them. But it depends on the person. So don't stress if you feel like you're behind, you're not good enough. Your attitude as a person and your drive is going to be what's going to help you improve as an artist. Something else to keep in mind, animation as an industry is very unstable. You have to decide if that's going to be worth it for you. If you love animation, it definitely will be. But you have to work at it, and it is very stressful. A lot of jobs are obtained through connections and networking. That's what I've heard a lot from my teachers. But the good thing is that going to conventions, going to Lightbox are great ways to network. Just talking to your fellow students or fellow classmates will help out a lot. Networking is as important as a good portfolio. And animation as a major is a very transferable degree. I know people can go into illustration, photography. There's a lot of things that you can do with animation. You don't have to specifically go into it. Prioritize being a genuine person. Animation is a very community-based industry. The people that you work with are going to really affect the art being made. The best way to showcase your work is social media, conventions, talking to people, demo reels, creating a portfolio, and thesis films, which is what we're working on at Fullerton to get those made. Conventions are great for networking. Really good advice that an illustration teacher gave me over there in Fullerton was that to not stress that you need a job as soon as you graduate. It takes a good 2 years working on a personal portfolio before you even get hired. Or at least that's what his experience was and most of the people that he worked with. So don't stress and don't be rushing to get an animation job. Work at a job that you like, at a coffee shop, at a bookstore, and work on your art on the side. That should help. During that time, you should explore your interests and then just enjoy all your experiences. You guys should be really enjoying your time at COS or whatever college you guys are at, whatever job you're at, meet new people, guys get to know each other. That really makes your time there worth it. And that's all for the slides. And there's a QR code. So does anybody have any questions that I did not go over?
What about webtoons, like cartoons you can probably find on the internet?
You mean, like, can you go into that with animation?
Yeah,
You definitely can.
great, 'cause that's what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, so you'll learn like illustration, animation, it's really the art of movement,
Yeah.
what animation and webtoon are.
Yeah.
But there are specifics, like taking a storyboarding class is gonna help you with that a lot. Yeah.
So when you were talking about like your first years in Fullerton, are you referring to like Does that apply for transferring to Fullerton as well?
So when I talk about my first year at Fullerton, what I mean is that after the first 2 years here at COS. So once I got there, it was an intro to animation. More studio figure drawing classes. Figure drawing for animation, the intro classes for animation specifically. Yeah. Anybody have any questions, or are we ready to let Kathy talk?
Can you share just a little bit about what's your experience been like with studio access and like that sort of environment of being in the studio, like outside of class time?
I'm really happy because Fullerton is very open with their resources. We have a lot of new facilities and they're, for the most part, always open. Teachers are really okay with, hey, if it's super late, you guys can come in and work. There's the student commons that are supposed to be open 24/7, and if they're not, you can call campus security and they will open the door for you and you can work weekends. Or I've had a friend who was there at 3 a.m. with their group, they were finishing their thesis film. So there's a lot of help, and I know the library has Wacom setups, HP and Apple for illustration and animation majors to go and work. Yeah, there's a lot of resources that are available for students. Anybody else have any specific questions for me, or we can let Kathy talk?
All right. All right. Think we're ready for Kathy.
All right, well, that was a great presentation, wonderful PowerPoint. You covered quite a bit about the field and what we do at Fullerton. So I'll just let you guys know. So I am actually, this is only my 3rd year at Cal State Fullerton, so I'm fairly new there. And things are changing. It's a very exciting time. And one of my goals when I came in, I looked at the syllabi for the curriculum and I saw that in the curriculum, it said students make films, which is what I did. I went to UCLA for a Master Fine Arts. So I got a terminal degree at UCLA in film animation, and we made complete films, which it's a great experience to make complete films. You get very well-rounded. You learn a lot about every aspect. And one of the reasons when I looked at those syllabi, I really emphasized we need to really have the students make complete films is because the goal is not to train you or any student to be a gear in an animation factory machine. You are artists with voice, and we encourage students to be leaders while also learning those nuts and bolts skills. So Van Partible is a good example of somebody who he's one of the first people I called when I was hired at Cal State Fullerton to come teach, because when he was a student, he made a student film that Johnny Bravo, it was Johnny Bravo, that got out into the world and recruiters loved it, and he made a show out of it. He became the leader, the creator. And I also made a student film, which when recruiters saw it, they wanted to hire me. They could see that I understood the whole filmmaking process. So making a complete film gives you, in my opinion, it's more empowering than if you're learning specific little pieces, and it gives you voice. We do not limit students' voice. We want students to have the opportunity to tell their stories no matter what they are. We encourage that. So we create a very supportive environment where everybody's voice is to be recognized and supported. So it's very inclusive. And we do these, this is all kind of new since I started at Fullerton, because making a film, to be honest, is very hard. Getting an animated film completed to show to a big audience is not an easy task. So if you're up for it, great. But just know that if you're going into this field, animation, it's a lot of work no matter what. And so I don't sugarcoat. I tell the students it's a lot of work. It's not a hobby. This is really hard work. But again, it is worth it if this is where your passion is. For me, I cannot not do it. I cannot not be an artist. I was bartending my way through school and working as a waitress, making my film. At the time, the industry was at a down point. There weren't a lot of jobs, but I loved the art form. And I was working on, I was a student, didn't have a lot of money. Didn't even have a light box. And I was working on paper, but I worked on like a broken piece of glass with an upside down Luxo lamp as my light box. Because I was passionate about telling this story. I made the Mona Lisa laugh. That was my first short film. And it was like, I just wanted to do this because it was in me. And lo and behold, the industry boomed. And I was right there with my film out in festivals. And so they're like, I was a good candidate for hire because I wasn't going into this just for like a hobby or just to make money. It really was a passion. So animation, to have a long career in animation, and I've been in the business a very long time, like 25 years or so. And I've seen a lot of people get a job and they don't last. They'll work and not get called back because it's not a passion. The passion is really what's kept me in this industry because it changes all the time. You have to adapt. You have to be able to say, you know what, I don't exactly want to do that job, but I'm going to do that job. And pivot, shift, adapt, learn the digital tools, work on things that just keep you going. But it really has to be that kind of passion for this. Otherwise, your life is going to be miserable. So I think it's really important to understand that. So we are having students, it's a high standard at Cal State Fullerton, like the portfolio review. And a lot of the reason is because we don't want to have students spend a lot of time and money into something that they're really not into. That is, so it is pretty rigorous, our concentration. And like I said, when I started at Fullerton, students were not really completing films. There were some students completing films, but at this point, because of the faculty who I've been bringing in, and we're really bringing it to a level where students really have to make films, and we have a screening at the end of every semester. So this is something new. We do a screening. I tell the students in the beginning of the semester, we are going to, for our thesis class, we are going to show your work to an audience at the end of the semester. So there's a deadline. It has to be met, just like if you work in the studios. When I worked on Space Jam 1, we were so behind, and there was a release date. It was November 15th. I remember very clearly Michael Jordan was waiting for this film. There was no flexibility with the deadline. We had to get it done. So we had day crew, night crew. We did meet the deadline, but the reason we have this end of year screening is so students are getting in the mode of, wow, I've got to get the work done. You can't just make a half finished film. You have to make a finished film to show to the audience. And so, as was noted before, that's kind of a lot of my emphasis. The faculty, first of all, something I need to say is there's no guarantees in this field. There's no guarantees even like with the faculty, because I am committed to bringing in high-level faculty, people who can really help students, but things shift and change in all school systems. I've worked at various universities, different places. Things change, but my goal, and right now it's a really exciting time because we are bringing in new faculty, and the administration has been very supportive with me bringing in people like Caroline Hugh or Douglas McCarthy or Van Partible, people I've worked with and I know from the industry. And so it's a really great time right now, I think, to be at Cal State Fullerton. Let's see what else I was going to note. So being proactive is a really important thing. We encourage students, what you're learning in the classroom is not only in the classroom. So the basics of the figure drawing and understanding structure and figure drawing. I have a couple books here I'm going to hold to the screen. So this is the Glenville Pooh Drawing Manual. He's very good at talking about structure for drawing for animation, starting with really simple forms. I'm not going to say shapes, but I'm going to say forms. Because we're talking about dimension and foreshortening, three-dimensional forms. So this is very important basics. And I teach a class in figure drawing for animation, which is a really fun class. I love to teach it. And there's people who love it so much that they go home after class and they're just working and studying and drawing from these books, like drawing from the Glenn Vilppu book. Or another very good book, which is fairly cheap, is George Bridgman's Life Drawing. And I started drawing from this book when I first realized I really need to learn gesture and structure drawing. I just drew from this book. He's got a lot of good basics. And this is an old book. I don't know when George Bridgman lived, but I just drew from this book, and it really, I internalized more in my brain how to draw structure and balance and weight. Weight is very important in animation. We want to see that your character has weight and balance, and we want to see that in figure drawings. This is from Carl Ganass. These drawings, for example, these are just some drawings from his book. He probably drew these sketches in, I'm guessing, 5 minutes. 5 or 10 minutes. It's because he has so much knowledge. He's been practicing this, practicing. And so he can see the model, get a great pose. He knows the anatomy, and he can get the pose down really quickly. So the point I'm trying to make here is what you're learning in school and in class is great. Just like, I'm not a musician, but if you did, I know that my son took violin and he learned things in class, how to do certain things, but where he really got good was outside of class. The nonstop practicing. It's like that nonstop practicing when you're just, and you have to have that passion, because in the animation industry, there are people working here and working in studios from all over the world who have that passion, who are doing this, and you are competing in the field of animation with these people as well. That's not to say that if you're not drawing at that level and that you won't have a future in animation, because there's a wide range of things that you can do in animation. Lots of different positions. Having technical knowledge is very important too. And we do teach that. We have Toon Boom products. So Toon Boom Harmony and Toon Boom Storyboard Pro are programs that are being used in the studios in the industry, and we have that at Fullerton. I worked on those tools. I worked on Harmony, Toon Boom Harmony at Warner Brothers, and I teach it. So we are teaching nuts and bolts skills and basics, but we don't want to limit you as artists to only learning basic things to fit into a formula of an animation factory studio. And to be honest, the times right now are very interesting because so much work is global now. And it's, in a lot of ways, where a lot of doors are closing, a lot of other doors are opening. There's opportunities. A lot of our recent alumni are making their own studios. They're creating their own studios. We have one student film that is on YouTube right now with, I think, over 500,000 views. And the comments, people are saying, I want to see this as a television series. I'd love to see this. So students are being very proactive in finding their ways to get their work out there or be recognized. We're encouraging students to get their films into festivals. Like I said, I've only been here at Fullerton. This is only my 3rd year. So it's just starting that our community and the students are really getting their work out. And it is a really nice community there. But as was previously stated, you have to do a portfolio to get into the animation concentration. Let's see, there were some other things I wanted to mention. Oh, storytelling. So storytelling, acting, improv, those are great things to do as well. So I think Van in his classes, he does a lot of things with like voice acting, and there's so many different directions. So taking acting and improv classes could be really worthwhile. Let's see. I'm looking, I think that's, let's see what the other notes I made here. Yeah, so that in a very brief nutshell, I'm giving you information about the passion that you really need to have to do this. Real quickly, are there any questions right now about anything or my history or anything, the future of animation? From my point of view, I'd be glad to share insights if anyone has questions.
Okay, you can tell me and then I'll tell her in case she can't hear.
Yeah, I see a hand there. I saw a
Oh.
hand.
Let me know if you can hear, okay?
Okay,
What was your favorite project to work on in the industry?
that is a really good question. And I have thought about that. And surprisingly, it's not one of the big projects. One of the projects I really liked working on, it was a Coke commercial called Man and Dog. I'm going to see if I can find the link to it. I'll put it in the chat and then it could be shared with you later. It was a Coke commercial. Okay. Let me find this and then I'll tell you a little more about it. And I'll tell you why. So I'm going to put the link here into the chat.
Would you like me to play it real quick?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah, we
time.
could play that. Sure. It's only about a minute. And then I'll tell you why I liked working on it. So we can play this.
Yeah, I remember you showed that to us in class.
Mhm.
Let me,
It's very short. I think it's only about 1 minute. So
let me go to here. I'm gonna share the screen here really fast.
It's the first one.
is the audio playing? I don't know if is there audio?
Yes, there's audio.
Okay.
Deep down in my heart, deep down in my heart, I got a happy, happy, happy feeling. Deep down in my heart, today, I got the facts. Just need a feeling. So I I've had a joy, deep down in my heart to stay.
All right. So that one was probably my, at this point, I mean, there's different projects I liked for different reasons, but that one I really loved working on. That was done at a studio called Duncan Studio. Ken Duncan was an artist. He was the lead animator on a lot of the Disney women. Like he did Megara from Hercules and he did Jane from Tarzan. He was this lead animator who wanted to create his own studio. And so it was an artist-run studio and he got this client to do this Coke commercial. And they brought me on. They knew that I had some technical experience. I had worked for them previously on some, on like a Kung Fu Panda project where I was coloring. I was doing the ink and paint. And they called me back because they could see that I was pretty fast at my job. You have to be fast. And they could see that I was technically inclined. And I learned a lot working on that Coke commercial. So what they did was the lines, you can see that it's kind of rough in some ways. They didn't have a big budget. So the animators, I was working with an animator named Chris Sauvé, who did the character Dean in the Iron Giant, and he was drawing this man character. And he drew really rough. And I had to make the lines look good. And so it was pretty tricky. They didn't want to hire the cleanup crew. Usually there's a cleanup crew and the cleanup crew goes and draws clean lines, but they said, can you do this using digital tools? And it was really fun for me to get this challenging project with trying to make these really rough lines look good. And so I was playing with the tools and I liked the project. I thought it was really cute and everything, but I really got to develop more as an artist and also as a technical person, learning the tools and making it look good. And it was also, we were on a tight deadline and I was working with a lot of artists. We were kind of in the same situation, like we've got this tight deadline, and it was just a really fun project. Eventually they did bring in someone to help do cleanup lines. But a lot of the rough lines, I had a good time making it look pretty. And then I colored. And I got to pick some colors for the effects and things like that. I got to pick colors. So that was fun. Something else occurred to me about Fullerton that I want to mention to you all is our alumni. So Fullerton's been around a long time. I've taught at Cal State Northridge and Cal State Long Beach. I've taught at many places, so I could answer questions about those places too. Cal State Fullerton, one of the things that's happening right now is we have relationships with our alumni. So for example, just today, I was at lunch at Disney Studios in a meeting with people on Phineas and Ferb, the TV show. The writer for that show is a Cal State Fullerton graduate. And so he wants to come back and talk to the students. In fact, in the room, about 3 or 4 people in the room, one was a director, the one that's a writer, another was, I believe, production assistant. They all are Cal State Fullerton graduates. We have alumni out in the studios, and I've been reaching out and inviting them back, and they come to our end of year screenings. We have alumni. We're building a community. Like I said, I'm new there. We just built this new building that I'm teaching in this year. This is the first time anyone's taught in that building. It's a whole new building. Everything is changing, and it's changing rapidly. You saw the green screen room in the PowerPoint. We have great equipment, and so and the community there is growing, and we're building more alumni community. And within the animation world, I'm in touch with faculty at Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Northridge. We support each other. We support the Cal State students. One of the things that is really exciting to me is people like Caroline Hugh, who she was a visual development artist on the Iron Giant. She does character designs like on Osmosis Jones. She did a lot of design work, but she also was an animator on The Lion King on the main character. She did a lot of, her position was assistant animation. And I didn't even know that when I called her to come work with us at Fullerton. And I'm just so grateful that we have people like Caroline Van Partible, Douglas McCarthy. We have someone named Brian Maynolfi who worked on the Phil character in Hercules with us just this semester. He just started. And people want to come teach our students. We support the university mission of providing access to a real high level of education. And I feel in a way we're kind of the best kept secret right now, because all these people are coming, and I'm like, wow, they all want it. I'm putting out the invitations, and people are responding like, yes, I'd love to come teach. And I tell them the university mission statement, and they're happy to come teach the students, as am I. It's a very exciting time, and it's all about voices. The end of semester screenings are very fun. I invite alumni. They come back to see what the students are doing, and every film is different because it's students' unique personal voices. And another thing that's going to be happening just this upcoming week, one of our alumni is I believe he's a recruiter or career, I forget his exact title, but he's a recruiter at Sony Pictures, where, they're doing amazing work at Sony, and he wants to see what our students are doing because he's an alumni. And he's, so we have a lot of these great connections. And I've been going to these conferences. We're not far from Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles, so near the studios, because that's where I've spent much of my life. And so I still am connected to the industry connections, and I go to the conferences. I meet these people there. It's like the Sony recruiter. I went to meet him, and I said, hello, I'm a professor at Cal State Fullerton. And he says, oh, I'm an alum. I'm like, great, will you come talk to Fullerton students? He's like, I'd love to. So it's really, I'm discovering all of this. And so it's just a very exciting time. I can't predict the future, what, you know, how things are going to go, but everything right now is going in a really great direction. And I can say from having taught at other universities and other places, same thing. You know, it's sometimes there's more bureaucracy getting in the way, like, oh, we have to do this paperwork or this or that. I'm not running into obstacles at all at Fullerton. When I say, let's bring in the alumni, let's bring in these great potential teachers, let's give these professionals who are like really knowledgeable a chance to come teach at Cal State Fullerton. Like, yeah, let's give them a chance. And so the student work is really going to a very high level. So.
Does anybody have any other questions?
My question pertains to like writing. Say like you are passionate and you do have the creativity of like visual art, but what if like you aren't that good at writing, or like you're not passionate, like you don't impress your like if your story's good enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I heard. Let me try to repeat the question and make sure I heard correctly. So if you want to focus on writing, like writing for animation as opposed to drawing. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna, my phone's making noise. Let me turn this down. Okay. So if I understand the question correctly, it's if you're interested in writing for animation, but not as much for drawing for animation.
I'm not necessarily like if you want to do a bit of both, but like you're more good at maybe drawing than writing.
So if you're not so good as writing.
Yeah, that's fine. There's one of the things is there's so much to do in animation. There's so much work. It's very laborious. And so there's a lot for everybody. Story, when I worked on Green Eggs and Ham, that's another project that I really liked working on. It was a Netflix, Green Eggs and Ham. I think it came out about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was not a writer. I was a color designer. So that means I would get a character or a prop, and I'd have to look at that character and create the colors for that character, and the costume. What is the costume going to look like? And I wasn't a writer, but I thought about character. So when this one character I had, it was a character in a tuxedo. And I had the black and white line drawing, and I looked at this and I thought, okay, I could go really cheesy with this, or I could go more formal, or so I gave different versions for the director. And so I put him in a really bright, like purple tuxedo with really kind of loud colors, and I made him look kind of like a Las Vegas kind of a guy in his tuxedo. And then I did another version where he looked more slick, like fashion design, like in a beige. I made it beige with like a white tie. I can't remember all the details, but I made him much more like a model. And I was showing these different versions, and they said, we want him to look like James Bond. So then I put him in like a dark navy blue, and they really liked that one. So I still had the story sense or understanding of, I wasn't a writer, but I still was contributing to the storytelling of the project. There are very technical positions that someone might not be focused as much on story, but working in production management or just making sure everything is in the right place. There's a lot to manage. A lot of people are talking about AI and technology taking over the positions. My point of view is that AI cannot do improv and will never be able, because it's based on the opposite of what improv is and storytelling. So I'm not afraid of the tools. I call them tools because that's what they are. I've used a lot of automation. I've worked since I've been in this business a long time, I've seen tools come in and take over positions. I've worked in a lot of positions where I was doing very technical work, like ink and paint. It's very technical, and I had to make sure the ink lines were flowing properly, and I had to have a certain understanding of drawing, but it was very technical. And then things started becoming more automated. Like, well, we can auto fill. So we don't have to color every frame. So that's gonna cut down work and labor and positions start getting replaced with technology. That is a reality, but they're only a tool. And the new positions open because someone has to know how to work that tool. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot of positions. Having your radar up, I think being here, you're in this meeting and you're learning and being proactive and doing your own research. Right now, there's so much going on. I can't keep up with it all. There's things going on all over the world. People are developing production pipelines. There's different ways things are being distributed. YouTube, I'm thrilled about the students who have over 500,000 views now on their YouTube channel, and people are wanting to see this as a TV series. Who knows where their project could go? So there's so much changing so fast right now. So I encourage you all to keep up with all of that. But no matter what, having that art foundation and knowing what this art form is, that is where, that is core. I don't think that will ever be replaced. People want to hear stories. And so, yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I got some pretty good info from that, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Kathy, do you have do you have time for one more question?
Sure, absolutely. I love talking about this stuff.
Mr. Engel, you had a question?
Yeah, where can some of these thesis films be viewed remotely? Did they end up on
Well,
YouTube, or-
there are a couple on YouTube. So I'm going to put in the chat the title of one that's on YouTube. It's called Ring Race. This one you can see on YouTube. And there's another one called Below Freezing by Nina Lai that is on YouTube by Nina Lai. So there's the students, before they put them on YouTube, they usually go through the festival circuit. Like some of them are in film festivals. There's a big film festival in Hollywood called the Animation and Film Festival in October. And I have a relationship with the festival director there. So I submit every October about when I first started at Fullerton, I had no films to submit. I was trying to build this relationship, and he's like, do you have student films? And there was really only one that I was able to submit. And I promised him, I said, next year we'll have more. Following year, I had two. So in 2023, we had two really good films. It's a very prestigious festival, but our student films got in. Last year, 2024, we had four. So we're doubling the students. Right now, everything's changing. Our students are just finishing films, getting them out there. I think there might be a few more, but they do the festival circuit before they put them on YouTube, because some festivals don't want to show it if it's already online. So, but Below Freezing, Nina Lai, let me see if I could actually find the link to that one. The one for Ring Race is fairly easy to find, but let me see, Nina's might be a little harder. Below Freezing, and I'll put it in the chat here. Okay, if I could, oh yeah, here it is, I found it. So here we go, I'm gonna put this in the chat. This is another one. And there's actually another very funny one. Let me see if I can find it by Sitlali. It's called Warm and Moist. And Sitlali's is very funny. It's gotten out into festivals. And Sitlali used a technique that is very, it's not like feature animation quality, but it's funny. Sometimes you can do things like, I think of the show South Park, South Park, or there's certain animations that are done that they're using animation as the tool to tell their stories. This one, Warm and Moist, it's very funny. And the drawings are very strange in a lot of ways. You'll see they're kind of strange, but the technique this student used and combined also at one point, I think there's like a cutout in there, like of a real hamburger or something. I mean, it's very funny. And that one's been getting around in festivals. So there's a couple that are in festivals, but we're going to keep trying to do more. Hopefully have a channel at some point. We're just starting to get all these films done, which is really exciting.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor to be here and I'm glad to share and feel free to reach out to me again, or if there's anything I missed that you'd like to hear more about, I'd be glad to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to stay for a little bit. If anybody has any specific questions, I guess the meeting's over. Thank you guys so much for coming. Hopefully that helps somehow.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd be glad to stay for more questions too, if anyone has them.